Podcasting from Hartford, you're listening to the Connecticut Scoreboard Podcast.
Tyler, so excited to chat a renewed rivalry with you. UConn-Seton Hall back in the Big East, and a different type of rivalry this time around. So I'm excited for it. So thanks for hopping on to talk with me.
Of course, man.
So take us through. I know this season's been a bit of an up and down for Seton Hall. You know, they get off to a 1-3 start, turn the corner, have a tough stretch of games, but looking good again. So take us through what this season's been like so far for Seton Hall.
You know, like you said, man, it's been a roller coaster ride. You know, non-conference play was tough. This team really had to learn how to play together, replacing a bunch of key pieces, Miles Powell, Quincy McKnight, Romaro Gill. A bunch of guys had to step into new roles. Sandra Mamukelashvili had to take over the alpha dog role. Took him a little bit to get going in that. This team settled in at the beginning of Big East play, hit a tough stretch against some tough teams, and, you know, they really turned the tide against Providence on Wednesday night. They turned in probably their best defensive performance of the season, least amount of points allowed in Big East play ever by the program. And that dates back to before the three-point line. So it was it's been a roller coaster, man. But this team looks like they're kind of hitting their stride a little bit maybe after this game. Maybe that could be what it takes to get them rolling in the right direction again.
Yeah, they have a tough stretch there where they lose 4 out of 5, but those are 2 against Creighton, 2 against Villanova in 5 games. That's a really tough stretch. Despite losing those games, were there any positives you were able to take away that you think has helped the team now coming off that stretch?
I think that they played tough in all of their games. You know, the physicality was never really lacking. Their defense struggled a lot in those games. They allowed, I believe it was a 27 combined 3-pointers in 2 losses against Villanova and Creighton. But they stayed within themselves. You know, they never got too down, and they fought back, you know, and that's the DNA of this program under Kevin Willard. Mm-hmm. This team, they play tough every night. They fight back, and they find ways to get back on track. And I think that's what you're seeing right now.
In terms of the style of play, what can UConn fans expect out of this Seton Hall team?
I think you're going to see a team that matches UConn's physicality. You know, UConn being, from what I've seen, one of the more physical teams in the Big East. Mm-hmm. You're going to see a lot of banging down low. You're going to see a lot of contact on the wings, on-ball defending. And I'm really excited for this matchup in terms of style of play. I think both teams align in a sense, and it's going to make for some really competitive basketball.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100% there. In terms of some players for fans to look out for, I think everyone's pretty familiar with Mamu and what he could do, but who might be some of the other guys on the team that UConn fans who haven't watched a ton of Seton Hall might not be as familiar with, but are guys that are going to have pretty big impact on these games?
The big one I got to start with right now is Miles Powell after the way he played against Providence. Easily one of his best performances of the season. 19 points. He was their spark plug in the first half when their offense was going absolutely nowhere throughout the first 20 minutes. He kept them afloat. He runs hot and cold with his jump shot sometimes, but his intensity and his physicality is never lacking. You know, he kind of embodies what this team is about. Jared Roden's another guy UConn fans should keep an eye on. His defense has been superb this season. You know, he's a mid-range specialist offensively. So I think those 2 guys on the wings are the ones to watch other than Mamu right now. And, of course, I can't forget Ike Obiagu down low. He has the ability to change a game with his shot blocking.
I think that's going to be fun tomorrow with the shot blocking of UConn throwing his shot blocking. It's going to be a fun game. One guy that I'm curious, and I know he's working himself back from injury, just having watched him at Harvard, is Bryce Aiken. What's his impact been on this team so far?
When Bryce Aiken's going, as we saw throughout his career at Harvard, completely different Seton Hall team we're talking about here. This guy distributes. He can hit the threes at the end of the shot clock. When he's on his game, he's as advertised. But it's been a tough stretch for him this season, man. He gets injured in the opener against Louisville, works his way back, unfortunately goes down again on the road against Creighton, has to work his way back again from that. Before pregame Providence, he tightened up a little bit, wasn't able to go until late in the first half. Well, when Bryce Aiken is Bryce Aiken, the Bryce Aiken everyone knows, he changes the way Seton Hall's offense flows. He's a scrappy defender, too. I know it's not the strength of his game, but his main impact on this team is definitely the offensive flow and what he brings to the table there.
I'll wrap with this one. I know there's been some John with Kevin Willard, not necessarily thrilled about UConn back in the Big East. You got Danny Hurley going back to play or coach against his alma mater. What's the thoughts on the Seton Hall side about UConn coming back and starting to play these games again?
You know, I'm sure UConn fans have seen the quotes from Kevin Willard by now. That they're widespread. What UConn fans need to understand about Kevin Willard is he has a very, a very dry sense of humor, a very, different kind of sense of humor. So a lot of the things he says about this rivalry is tongue in cheek. And, I'm sure there's some credence to what he's saying, but he's excited. I think the team is excited to get this rivalry going again. There's a lot of juice here, I feel. A lot of juice. And it's a big game for the standings, too. I mean,
Yeah.
with where these two teams are at this point, this isn't just, some random middle Big schedule game. This is an important one for both teams. So you're going to see these two teams are going at it, man. It's going to be a great physical matchup. And you're going to see classic, intense Big East basketball.
Awesome. I think UConn fans will be really excited to hear that. And I know we're all looking forward to this game on our side. So, Tyler, thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Of course, man. Thank you.